What is a community? Is it a place or location? A group with shared interests? A feeling of belonging? Today on Maranatha Mission Stories, we'll explore communities centered around Adventist churches and how the construction of church buildings is helping to spread the gospel. For centuries, explorers were drawn to the Dominican Republic in search of natural resources like gold and fertile soil. But it could be argued that one of the country's greatest resources is personal connections. In the Dominican Republic, human connections are at the heart of everyday life. Relationships with family, friends, and neighbors are not just important, they are essential. The value placed on relationships reflects a deep cultural belief that life is better when shared with others. For many, the sense of community is found at church. Church isn't just a place to come and listen to a sermon once a week. It provides purpose, value, and connection. And this is especially true at Adventist churches.
Bueno, la iglesia tiene un rol sumamente importante en la comunidad. Tiene la principal razón de ser es poder sacar a personas que están en el valle de peligro y traerlos a la zona de seguridad. Pero más que esto, la iglesia tiende a ser un equilibrio para las familias, para los hogares, un lugar de refugio para la niñez, valores cristianos, su carácter. Y la iglesia viene a ser como ese lugar que lleva paz a las personas, que trae estabilidad a la sociedad y sobre todo que hace posible que Dios sea exaltado en medio del entorno de la comunidad. La iglesia adventista en República Dominicana es muy activa. Los hermanos son muy dinámicos, muy misioneros y eso hace posible que la iglesia crezca tanto. Por eso en pocos años la iglesia va multiplicándose y realmente hay un gran entusiasmo en la predicación de la palabra.
While in America and some other countries they are looking for mega churches where people can come and feel comfortable and do not be, too much involved, here's just the opposite. And this is one of the reasons why they are growing fast. Because you go to a small church, so you need to help, you need to be involved, you are very close friendly, your home is very close, so you don't need to walk too long. So meaning participation is increased, involvement is increased. Everybody has something to do in the church because the church is small and the only way is to involve everybody. And then also because of proximity, it's easy to invite people to come to your church because it is just at the corner, it's just there. There is no excuses to not come.
This enthusiasm for growing their church community is what has brought Maranatha back to the Dominican Republic time and again. In 1992, Maranatha organized their first large-scale mission effort in the Dominican Republic. Dubbed Santo Domingo 92, Maranatha ambitiously committed to build 25 churches in 70 days. More than 1,200 volunteers converged in Santo Domingo during that time, building an average of one church every 2.8 days. At the time, church membership was 40,000. But the addition of proper sanctuaries caused exponential growth, and Maranatha once again returned to build new churches in 2002 and in 2013. In 2022, Maranatha embarked on our current endeavor in the country, building more structures for a membership that has now grown to more than 300,000. Building structures grows the church.
Naturalmente, gran parte del desarrollo de nuestra iglesia en República Dominicana, que es una iglesia de fe, ha sido la respuesta a nuestras oraciones y la llegada de Maranatha al país. Porque Maranatha ha sido el principal medio para el crecimiento de la iglesia en cuanto al desarrollo con la edificación de nuevos templos que han dado acogida a los miles y miles de miembros de iglesias que cada año se bautizan en nuestras congregaciones.
They don't only multiply members, they are planting churches. So what we saw in a second wave was the need to build churches that are daughters from Maranatha. And now we got to the point where now we are on the need to build granddaughter churches because of Maranatha built the mother, they grew, they multiplied. Now Maranatha came back and helped to build the daughter church, and now we are invited to build granddaughter church, and we don't know where we will end up because we might end up with great daughter churches.
Proper church structures are just part of the formula for success. Dominicans are church planters. They're not content to just enjoy their established congregations when there are still people out there who don't know Jesus. Knit together by narrow roads and alleyways, the neighborhood of La Ureña is home to Noemi Vargas. For years, Noemi would set up the front room of her home, receiving an eager group of members for worship. This group is one of many Adventist congregations in this area of Santo Domingo. In 2002, Maranatha built a sanctuary for the Ureña Church. Since then, the original congregation split to form several additional groups, including this one called Ureña 4. They began small, meeting in her home, but quickly outgrew the space. They found this small building to rent, but soon outgrew that space as well. Soon, 70 members were squeezing into the small space each Sabbath and spilling out into the hot sun. And most members weren't in the economic position to even dream of finding a larger space. It was a hardship, and it would have been easy for Noemi to give up and rejoin a more established church where she didn't have to sit outdoors. But planting this new church is her passion.
Bueno, esto es parte de mi pasión, trabajar para Cristo. Yo vengo de un hogar cristiano desde niña y después de ser adulta siempre he trabajado en el ministerio de evangelismo. He participado en levantamiento de varias iglesias, en proyectos parecidos a ese, donde han iniciado en la galería de vivienda donde yo he estado y ha ido en crecimiento. Entonces, me inclino mucho en lo que es la evangelización, la ganancia de alma para Cristo.
Noemi's prayers were answered when a group of young people from Northern California came to build her new church. The journey from worshiping in her home to the dedication of the brand new church is one that has had its ups and downs. But through it all, Noemi trusted God had not forgotten them.
Son experiencias que me han ayudado a crecer mucho en la fe y en la confianza hacia Dios.
The impact goes beyond members of the local churches. Over the duration of Maranatha's involvement, more than 10,000 people have volunteered in the Dominican Republic, raising new structures and growing their faith as well.
I definitely do think that my relationship and how I view God has definitely changed because inside of their congregation, they truly do have the Spirit of the Lord inside of them. No matter what it is, they give what they can to help support us building. They truly show that what we're doing means a lot to them, and they're showing what it is like to really accept the love of God into your heart. I had the opportunity of speaking to a local here from Haiti. He spoke pretty good English. He was able to tell me that he's here to keep his family safe and that he's looking for a church and that he wants to live through Christ and have Christ live through him. And that really touched me because I haven't really thought about what that really means to have Christ live through you. And I think I understand now a little bit better.
Cuando los voluntarios vienen a la República Dominicana, vienen con gran entusiasmo, se ve la alegría en su rostro y cómo pueden ver damas pegando un bloque. Es algo extraordinario, los niños participando, los adultos ya mayores también se sienten como parte integral y quieren hacer el mejor esfuerzo. ¡Wow! Eso me ha emocionado a mí y he sacado tiempo también y voy con ellos y he aprendido a pegar bloques. He tenido la experiencia, la linda experiencia de sentir y vivir lo que significa el poder ser un instrumento de bendición para otros.
When we return, see how a new school campus will change the landscape of a growing Adventist community. Maranatha volunteer Jasmine Ayala is an ICU nurse from Florida and found herself serving on a Maranatha project in the Dominican Republic. The trip was a homecoming of sorts and a reminder of the feeling of community that makes the country special.
So I lived here for about a total of 3 years, or my early preteen era, and the sense of community here is very large. The Dominican culture is a culture one filled with love, filled with kindness, the way you speak to someone, the way you carry someone, the way you offer them everything that you have without anything in regards like an expectant back. And it's a tight-knit community wherever you go. That's the feeling I felt living here every day. Life is a little slower than it is in the United States here. People do work very hard, but life is more about spending time with your family and the love that you're receiving around and your community rather than more like work-based kind of in the United States.
Jasmine served with a group of employees from the Seventh-day Adventist healthcare system, Advent Health. The group conducted medical clinics in several neighborhoods around Santo Domingo and worked on construction. But they weren't building a church. Their work is helping to fulfill a huge need for education in this region. Maranatha has constructed more than 200 churches all over the Dominican Republic. Each week, these churches are filled with enthusiastic worshipers, and that includes children. Over the years, Maranatha has constructed several schools around the country to serve this growing group. These schools create communities, helping to reinforce positive values, and this environment is one that parents desire for their children.
La educación adventista es importante porque fomenta en la persona entender el por qué estamos aquí y para dónde vamos, a quién pertenecemos y por qué nos diseñaron. Tenemos todos un propósito de vida y lo vamos a entender, a descubrir por medio de la palabra de Dios.
Recently, Adventist church membership began to grow in the Ciudad del Cielo neighborhood in northern Santo Domingo. There are 80 Adventist churches in and around this neighborhood, and a deficiency in educational opportunities became apparent.
En toda esa área no tenemos ni siquiera un colegio adventista. Lo que se hace urgente, no solamente por nuestros hermanos que los requieren, sino también por la comunidad. No hay un colegio donde podamos tener a niños conociendo nuestros valores como cristianos y nuestros valores como adventistas. Por eso se hace necesario la construcción de un centro educativo que sabemos será de mucho valor y de gran importancia para toda aquella comunidad.
In February of 2023, Maranatha responded to this need and broke ground on the construction of a large educational complex. The Ciudad del Cielo School will offer education from kindergarten through elementary school, and the campus also includes a large church that will seat 500 people. Volunteers have diligently worked to construct the walls of each of the buildings on the large educational complex. Advent Health volunteers worked on the interior classroom walls for the large Education and Evangelism Center.
We're building a school. It's going to have K through 8 and eventually K through 12. And this is just going to be amazing for this community. I think there's over about 80 churches in the area, and many of them have been praying and waiting for about 20 years for this school to be built so that there could be some Christian education, some value-based education in this area. And I think it's going to be packed, maybe starting from day one.
To lay bricks and foundation or educate those people who one day can become something really big. You never know who's going to be the next world changer, you know?
Soon, this construction site will be a bustling center for learning, shaping the hearts and minds of hundreds of children. When we come back, Maranatha President Don Noble shares an update on the Dominican Republic, as well as how you can get involved.
In the studio with us is someone who has been to the Dominican Republic more times than anyone in our office, Maranatha President Don Noble. Welcome, Don, and thank you for being with us here today.
It's a pleasure. Anytime I can talk about Dominican Republic, I'm ready to do it.
All right, well, we're going to talk about it. So we have been to the Dominican Republic as an organization multiple times. What brought us back for this most recent effort?
Well, it's the same thing that brought us there at the beginning, really, number one, it's close. It's good for volunteers. And I think probably for me, the biggest thing is the impact that's always made. It's always, every time, successful. And one of the ways you can judge it is the fact that they keep asking for more projects. The projects that we've built, mostly churches, a few schools, mostly churches, man, they fill up, and the people are so friendly. They attract their neighbors. It's a positive environment when people are invited to church, and it just grows.
Yeah, you can definitely see that if you visit. You can kind of point out a storyline of how these churches grew.
If you want a place that you know your support is going to be impactful and positive, Dominican Republic is one of the best.
You're talking about churches, but we've also built schools there, and one of the major projects we've been working on this year is Ciudad del Cielo. Can you tell us what that project entails and what we're doing there?
Well, the way it started was the president of the conference told us that there was an area that they were trying to obtain some land because there was 80 churches in an area that had no Christian education. And they were around this one piece of property. It actually became 13 pieces of property before it's done. And they said, we need a school, a large school, and we need a church. So we decided to put it all on one property. And it's got a preschool as kindergarten, elementary school, and a large church that'll seat over 400 people. And it's,
you were just there, right? You saw it?
I was there. It's coming along really well. We're planning on dedicating it in July of 25. And it's, the people are so excited. I mean, we had a preliminary meeting there in the big school with just plastic over the rafters and everything, and there was like 1,200 people there.
Wow.
I stood in front of them, I says, how many of you are gonna send your kids to this school? I think they all raised their hands, so they know that this thing is gonna be more than full the day it's open, for sure.
Well, you were just there at the school, but you were also there for several church dedications. Tell us what's the latest with the situation at churches in the Dominican Republic. What are some of the things that you saw there?
Well, this particular time that we're there, we're doing a lot of churches, and nice churches. We've finished and dedicated 24 churches.
Well, you were at all 24 dedications?
No.
Okay.
No, I wasn't at all 24. We helped them with 7 two-story churches that we didn't send volunteers to, but the other ones we sent volunteers to all of them, 17 I think. And there's a few that they're just finishing up, and there's 10 that are waiting for volunteers for next year that are floors are in, the structure's up, and they're ready for the volunteers. But so it's going to end up with the church at the Ciudad del Cielo. It's going to be, I think, 39 churches. So talk about a nice big impact. And guess what happened on this trip? Well, the division president was there, and we had a meeting with all the conference presidents. There's 6 conferences. Well, there's 5 conference presidents that have been looking longingly at what's been happening there in this one conference.
And they said, how can I get some of that?
What about us? So we had the union there and we talked and we listened to the appeals of all 5 of those other conferences. And they all have great potential for impact. You know, I got to thinking, wouldn't it be cool to really impact that country for God? All over. Now we've done a lot. We've done over 200 projects there, but they've grown so much. And I mean, the general population's grown. It's a great country. Not only are the people friendly, but there's wealth and poverty. There's openness to the gospel. It's great for volunteers. It's safe. So
and the
I guess
people there, the local church members, I find really, they're invested. Yeah. They're invested in growing their church and their communities, and that's really rewarding to see too. And that we're just supporting them in their efforts to grow the gospel.
Right. I mean, I'm happy to be the marketer for Dominican Republic.
Well, you're doing a great job. What do you want to say to people who are watching now and how they might help us?
Like it or not, when you do construction like this around the world, it's expensive. It just is. No matter how careful you are, and we try to be, it's still expensive. It costs money to build these buildings and to provide the opportunities for the volunteers, because they often go, sometimes they give a little bit and sometimes they don't. But it's, yeah, plenty of opportunity, plenty of need. I should talk a little bit about our philosophy, though. Our philosophy on giving, we don't try to strong arm or pressure or push anybody. I don't think the Bible supports that. You know, the Bible talks about loving a cheerful giver and all that, but I think it's the job of the Holy Spirit to touch people's heart. Our job is to say, hey, look at these great opportunities for growing the gospel all over the world. And the hardest thing I ever have to do in my position is say no. I mean, almost every day we get these long lists of requests for projects from around the world, and it would be wonderful to be able to meet them because you know that they're going to be successful.
It'd be wonderful to be able to say yes. And that's where our donors come in, right?
Exactly. We need the support. We do. And if the Holy Spirit's touching a person's heart, I'd certainly encourage them to be supportive.
Any last parting words for this program?
Well, you know, I've been with Maranatha for 42 years. And each year seems to increase the requests for projects. The gospel is going to the world, it's growing. And I'm just grateful that we as Maranatha get to be one of the tools that God uses. And if somebody has a question about how their money's used, I say, come on the project. You spend it. You lay the block. You see what the challenges are and what the positives are. When you look in the eyes of the people that you're helping, boy, does that ever make a big difference. It's very different than just seeing a picture. So get involved, come along. We'd be glad to have you. 2025, we've got lots of projects coming, so join us.
Thank you, Don. Thank you for being here.
For more than 30 years, Maranatha has been working to fortify communities all across the Dominican Republic. Congregations who worshiped faithfully, regardless of their circumstances, are now able to celebrate the answered prayer of a new church building.
El impacto que tienen la construcción de un nuevo templo en uno de estos lugares precarios es sumamente extraordinario. Y ver ya cuando se puede lograr la construcción de ese nuevo edificio hace una transformación, no solo a los hermanos allí en ese lugar, sino más a todo el entorno de la comunidad. Porque esos templos suben la moral de la zona, dan como una belleza al entorno de la comunidad y se convierten como verdaderas casas de refugio, arcas de salvación.
When completed in the summer of 2025, the addition of the Ciudad del Cielo campus will not only provide quality education for hundreds of students, it will also be a spiritual center. Maranatha is still responding to urgent requests for places of worship, and we need your help. You can empower these communities to thrive, spread the message of faith, and provide support to those who need it most. Will you help build not just churches, but a future filled with hope, purpose, and community for the people of the Dominican Republic? Partner with Maranatha and support dedicated members who are working hard to share the hope of heaven with as many people as possible.